league, and the ratings are an embarrassment. They're a statement about how little interest there actually is in women's basketball beyond Caitlin Clark. The fact that they can't reach a CBA agreement and be confident that there's actually going to be a 2026 season of the WNBA because these idiots, Angel Reese and the rest, are like, oh man, if y'all not paying us $1 million, $2 million a season,
we are witnessing a slow motion institutional suicide. The Women's National Basketball Association, a league that for nearly 3 decades has stood as a symbol of aspiration and grit, is now teetering on the brink of a self-inflicted catastrophe. This isn't a story of a market rejecting a product or of a cultural moment passing. This is a story of a house divided against itself. A case study in how a potent cocktail of economic illiteracy, staggering conflicts of interest, and an ideology that privileges feelings over facts can lead an organization to actively say,
nope, not good enough. We're not budging. We're not negotiating. The entire season is up for grabs. And here's how they got there. This group of women, delusional, allowed Nafisa Collier, whose husband and her and Breanna Stewart have started a rival league to the WNBA. They've allowed them to be the leaders of their negotiation for a new CBA agreement, collective bargaining agreement.
Sabotage its own historic moment of opportunity. The 2024 season was, by any objective measure, a watershed. A singular talent, Caitlin Clark, arrived with a tsunami of mainstream attention. Arenas sold out, television ratings shattered records, and for the first time, the WNBA commanded consistent front-page sports coverage. This was the golden ticket. The long-awaited moment to convert fleeting curiosity into lasting fandom, to build a sustainable economic model on a foundation of proven interest. Yet, instead of uniting to capitalize on this windfall,
a group of women, delusional, allowed Nafisa Collier, whose husband and her and Breanna Stewart have started a rival league to the WNBA. They've allowed them to be the leaders of their negotiation for a new CBA agreement, collective bargaining agreement in the WNBA. People that have started a competitor to the WNBA are leading the negotiations for a new WNBA contract. This is insanity and retardation that we have never seen.
Significant elements within the league's player ranks and leadership have chosen a different path, one of internal grievance, unrealistic financial demands, and a negotiation strategy so ethically compromised it borders on the farcical. The result? A potential work stoppage that could obliterate the 2026 season and, with it, the trust of the very fans they so desperately need. Let us first dissect the undeniable, uncomfortable reality of the WNBA's economics, a reality that forms the essential backdrop to this crisis. The league, since its inception, has not been a profitable enterprise in the traditional free market sense. It operates at a substantial...
Let's replay Nafisa Collier when she was talking tough and everybody's applauding her. You go, girl. Kathy Engelbert, they're not paying you guys what you're worth, and we're not paying Caitlin Clark what she's worth. Play the
league believes it succeeds despite its players, not because of them. I have the privilege of watching my husband run a league where he has to balance 100 different things at once. I won't pretend the job is easy, but even with all of that on his plate, he always takes the time to reach out to players when he sees an injury, whether it's unrivaled or even during the WNBA season. That is what leadership looks like. It's the human element. It's basic integrity, and it's the bare minimum any leader should embody.
Annual losses that have been quietly and consistently covered by the National Basketball Association. This is not a secret. It is the foundational financial truth. Every salary, every charter flight, a recent and welcome upgrade, every marketing dollar, and every operating cost is ultimately subsidized. The WNBA is not a self-sustaining business. It is a venture sustained by the goodwill, deep pockets, and philosophical commitment of its vastly more successful brother league. To demand NBA money while playing in the
built for this type of leadership. It's all feelings over facts. It's there's no logic here. Hey, just pay us what we want. I don't want to hear about paying us what's sustainable. Just pay us what we want. We feel like we're owed this amount of money. And we've convinced America that 23 and 24-year-old women coming out of college, that paying them $70,000, $80,000 a year for a 4-month job is
WNBA is therefore not a negotiation point. It is a fundamental rejection of economic reality. NBA players receive roughly 50% of the league's basketball-related income, BRI, which totals in the billions. Their salaries are colossal because the revenue they generate from global television deals, merchandising, and ticket sales is equally colossal. The WNBA's revenue footprint is a tiny fraction of this. The demand for proportional pay, while emotionally resonant, is analytically hollow. It is akin to an employee at a small, loss-making startup demanding the same salary as a senior executive at Google, simply because both work in tech. The core function may be similar, but the scale, revenue, and market impact are
Oh, well, you should have been a basketball player. Or these women are great basketball players and they deserve more than that. No, they don't. I went into a profession that at the time, sports journalism, the newspaper industry, that was turning a profit. And they paid me $5 an hour. And I didn't complain. I thanked them. But the Bloomington Herald-Times was turning a profit. The WNBA loses millions of dollars a year. And I got a 4-month job that pays me $75,000. I'm undervalued. I'm underappreciated. I've been mistreated. This is
worlds apart. Consider the offer reportedly on the table: 7-figure contracts for top players and rookie salaries beginning around $75,000 for a roughly 4-month season, plus housing, travel, health benefits, and off-season marketing opportunities. To frame this as exploitation requires a profound detachment from the economic experiences of most American college graduates. That starting salary, prorated annually, far exceeds the median income for young professionals. The league is offering life-changing compensation for playing a game in a business that loses money to provide that opportunity. This is not evidence of systemic undervaluation.
But she's nuts. And she's surrounded by other nuts that are confirming her nuttiness. She's going to sit here and preach. And again, I'm not a big defender of Kathy Engelbert because she's a nut too. But sitting there holding a press conference scolding them because your husband is the president of the unrivaled league and he's now smarter than her and he knows more about what to do than her. Are you kidding me? It
is evidence of a massive ongoing subsidy. The emotional heart of the player movement's argument often circles back to worth. We are worth more. And in a moral, philosophical, or athletic sense, they may be right. Their dedication, skill, and training are immense. But in a market economy, worth is not an abstract concept decreed by sentiment. It is a concrete calculation defined by a simple equation. Revenue generated minus costs incurred equals sustainability. An athlete's market worth is determined by their ability to drive revenue through ticket sales, jersey purchases, and, most critically, television viewership that commands advertising dollars. The brutal, unvarnished truth laid bare by the 2024 season is that a massive portion of this newfound
has made me just like, I don't really care about Caitlin Clark anymore because she's halfway crazy for not coming on air somewhere and saying the things that I'm saying. Hey man, y'all crazy. We better take this contract they offered us and be thankful because it's all from the private flights to the salaries we're getting paid. It's all charity. It's all welfare. And let's be appreciative. And then once we start making real money, then we'll go for the stupid superstar contracts like the NBA players have. But we're not there yet.
Revenue was catalytic, attached overwhelmingly to one phenomenon, Caitlin Clark. The ratings tell the story. Games featuring Clark soared. Other games, while improved, often settled back toward baseline levels. The sold-out arenas were frequently packed with fans wearing #TwatWoe jerseys. This isn't to diminish the talents of Aja Wilson, Breonna Stewart, or others, but to acknowledge a commercial fact. Clark acted as a once-in-a-generation gateway drug for casual sports fans. The league's challenge was to get those fans hooked on the broader product. Instead, a vocal faction seemed resentful.
This is all playing off of how, the people within the Wall Street or whatever, they caused the collapse that damaged all of us and cost all of us. It cost me a lot of money. I lost so much money on the house I had in Kansas City. Anyway. But here's Megan Rapinoe in her latest commercial begging for LeBron James to come over and play basketball in the WNBA and for Messi to come play soccer against her. But anyway,
believe that you can do anything, and then the world tries to set limits for you.
Tell you what's allowed,
what's normal,
who you're supposed to be.
But on the field, the track, the court, here, you get to be exactly who you are.
Because at our core, we're still the kids who just want to play. The go big game changers.
The living, breathing fabric of this country.
Supporting trans youth isn't just about sports.
It's about freedom.
On and off the field. It's more than a game.
Megan Rapinoe has teamed up with the ACLU to promote the whole transgender deal. And if you listen to that commercial, and for those
of the very force that was expanding the pie for everyone, the narrative became one of division, of old guard versus new, rather than one of collective growth. This alienated the casual viewer who tuned in for sport and found a morass of interpersonal and political drama. This brings us to the most astonishing and potentially destructive element of this crisis, the staggering conflict of interest at the very heart of the players' collective bargaining strategy. The person leading the charge, serving as a vocal face of the union's hardline stance, is Napheesa Collier. Collier is an outstanding player, a franchise cornerstone. She is also the co-founder, alongside her husband and fellow WNBA star Breonna Stewart, of a new entity called Unrivaled. Unrivaled is explicitly designed as a rival winter league, a competitor to the WNBA's off-season structure, aiming to showcase players in a different.
Again, they want to decide things that God has decided. It's not about you. And so if you're a Christian, or if you have a brain, you consult the maker, the owner, the creator. You let him define you. But this whole movement is about, I get to define. I'm my own God. Yes, I have a vagina and a clitoris, but I get to decide I should really have a bat and balls. And I'm going to have someone sew one on me so that I can run around and pretend to be a man, or I can run around and pretend to be a woman. And you wonder why things around them are collapsing? They think they're the makers. They think they're the creators. They think they're their own gods. And that's why everything that they build collapses. And that's why women's sports are going to collapse, because the delusion of women, the whole feelings over facts and logic.
Format. Let us pause to absorb the sheer magnitude of this. The individual helping to lead negotiations for the future of League A is a principal owner of League B, a direct competitor. This is not a minor ethical gray area. It is a chasm of conflicting interests so vast it would be deemed comical if it were fiction. Imagine if LeBron James, while serving as president of the NBA Players Association, launched a competing basketball league and then led CBA talks with Adam Silver. The outrage would be instantaneous and universal. it would be seen for what it is, an inherent sabotage of the negotiation process. Collier and Stewart's primary fiduciary duty as owners of Unrivaled is to the success of their league. If the WNBA stumbles, if its season is canceled, if fan goodwill evaporates, Unrivaled stands to benefit by potentially scooping up disaffected players and fans. Their presence at the bargaining table isn't just problematic, it poisons the well of good faith. Collier's critique of WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert crystallizes the feelings over facts approach. In a public moment, her core indictment was that Engelbert does not personally call players when they get injured. She contrasted this with her husband, the Unrivaled president, who she praised for sending such messages. This was presented as a profound failure of leadership, not a failure of revenue generation or media rights negotiation or long-term strategic planning, but a failure of emotional bedside manner. While compassion is a virtue, leading a multi-million-dollar sports league in a fight for survival requires more than a knack for sympathy cards. It requires ruthless economic acuity. To potentially blow up a season over a perceived lack of personal phone calls is to elevate emotional validation above institutional survival. This mindset, the prioritization of subjective feeling over objective data, extends beyond the bargaining table. It is woven into the broader cultural narrative that often surrounds women's sports. We see it in the adjacent heated debate over transgender athletes in women's competitions, frequently framed not as a complex issue of competitive fairness and biological reality, but solely as one of identity affirmation. The messaging, as seen in campaigns featuring figures like Megan Rapinoe, argues, you get to be exactly who you are. Supporting trans youth isn't just about sports. It's about freedom. This is the language of unfettered self-definition. While compelling on a human rights level, it becomes fraught when applied to the rule-based, biologically divergent arena of elite sport. It represents the same core principle, that individual feeling and identity must supersede established, objective systems, whether those systems are biological categories or financial balance sheets. When this ideology merges with labor negotiations, the result is a form of magical thinking. The logic ceases to be, we generate X revenue, therefore we deserve Y share. It becomes, we feel we are worth Z, and to question that is an act of oppression. The revenue must be found or created or imagined because our feeling of worth is the paramount fact. It is a worldview that views the subsidization of the league not as a generous opportunity to be stewarded wisely, but as an inherent injustice to be rectified through demand. The $5 an hour intern at a profitable newspaper in the 1,990 seconds wasn't a sustainable, if unfair, system. The $75,000 a year rookie in a league losing $10 million annually is in an unsustainable system, no matter how fair her salary feels. And herein lies the profound danger for the players. They are making a catastrophic miscalculation about leverage. Their leverage is not their individual stardom, as the Unrivaled League's television numbers have grimly demonstrated. Its championship game drew approximately 30,000 viewers. This is not a market signal of pent-up demand for an alternative. It is a funeral bell for the idea that these players can thrive outside the WNBA ecosystem. Their leverage exists solely within the structure built by the NBA subsidy. It is a leverage of potential, not of current commercial power. By threatening to destroy the very season that could cement their growth, they are sawing off the branch upon which they sit. Caitlin Clark's silence in this whole affair is deafening, and to many, disappointing. She, more than anyone, holds the cards. She is the revenue driver, the proof of concept, a clear, courageous statement from her calling for pragmatic, sustainable growth, acknowledging the league's financial reality, and urging a deal that ensures a 2026 season could reset the entire conversation. Instead, her acquiescence to the prevailing narrative reads as complicity. It suggests that even the one player who embodies the league's economic potential is unwilling to state the obvious economic truths for fear of social or peer group repercussions. So, what is the end game? If the players force a work stoppage, they will be betting that the NBA's commitment is infinite and that fan loyalty is unshakable. Both bets are likely losers. The NBA's patience, while deep, is not bottomless. A work stoppage would be a public repudiation of their decades of support. The The casual fans brought in by Clark, the exact demographic needed for long-term survival, will not wait. They will drift back to the NFL, the NBA, MLB, and other entertainment options. The hardcore base alone cannot support the current salary structure. The league would likely return to a diminished state, if it returns at all, with crippled morale and a broken brand. The path forward requires a painful but necessary dose of economic humility. It requires accepting that growth is a marathon, not a sprint. It means ratifying a CBA that ties salary increases directly to revenue benchmarks, creating a true partnership where players share in both the upside and the reality. It means immediately removing individuals with blatant conflicts of interest from leadership roles in the union. It means players like Clark using their influence to advocate for pragmatism. And it means the league office doing a far better job of transparently educating players and the public on the financials, moving beyond PR spin to hard numbers. The WNBA stands at the most critical juncture in its history. It can choose the hard path of reality-based building gratitude for the subsidy, strategic capitalization on its momentum, and unified growth, or it can choose the seductive path of emotional demands, conflicted leadership, and economic fantasy. One path leads to a slow, difficult, but genuine climb toward profitability and cultural permanence. The other leads directly off a cliff, a tragic collapse where the final epitaph will read, "They had everything they ever asked for, except an understanding of what it actually costs." The 2026 season hangs in the balance, and with it, the very future they claim to be fighting for.